We cooked up this whole hoax. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm listening. You don't want your jurors out my court. Fuck you. Say, on this. I'm saying shit. My password out now. I'm working it. You working it. God damn it. God. So I made these cookies unique and different. No, she did not. No, she didn't. Other than that, they be plain. Yeah, she did do something different to it. I will share the recipe one day. I'm not shooting shit. I don't say shit to her. I actually find them to be too sweet. Yeah. So I might just do this to all the cookies and then sell them and sell them. Shit. That's It's like a very sweet dessert. Sure. What's that BT color? If request. Let's hook her up. Start her savings. Or something of that nature. Let's put her dag. Got some good stuff going. Just go on old fashioned one.
Calling Indiana EBT customer service.
Didn't get my snaps. Check. Let me see if it's talk. So what was just the topic on television? They already done dismissed both his lawsuits. If we crazy, and I don't know if it's like one judge does it, and so they wrote judge tosses his defamation suit, and then that's it. So it's like they just brought it on. This first time I seen that on TV. If we crazy, and then it's all reported like within hours. I'm this. So one judge can toss it. I guess is how that works. I say. Now it's out on the internet within the last 21 hours ago. If we crazy, did say So two American CIA agents CIA were killed in Mexico after a drug bust. So I just walked around. If we crazy, then that guy was. Dude, just tell her to fuck you. Just tell her that. We ain't shit. She said there and this.
There are no joint operations. There is an exchange of information from them to us and from us to them of various kinds, particularly intelligence. We cooperate within a clearly defined framework.
What did the Mexico drug dealers do? If free crazy, just like me in here making some drugs. If free crazy, and y'all talking about y'all some universal police. If free crazy, do you how do I know y'all are really the CIA? Why the fuck are y'all in Mexico? If we crazy, where we ain't crazy? What the fuck is it called in Mexico? If we crazy, there it is. She said there it is. There it is. Yes, it is. Don't do that. Then Bill, that's it. Fuck you. I'm by like anything. If no, I said fuck you. If honesty, no, I said. Yes, she ain't crazy. Yes, she is crazy. Do you know if it's crazy like dumb? If where is it outside? I said in bad game. Dude, where? No, say, yeah, fuck you. We walk in. They must have thought this would be how you dumb down drug cartels. Yes, it's not. Yeah, if just into the United States.
Bush U.S. Attorney stayed on trial and Obama U.S. Attorney, and even during those administrations, some of these
I just want, because I know it should be posted today.
significant level of corruption when it comes to law enforcement and drug enforcement in Mexico, whether it's federal agents or state and local. Now, what makes this case unique, Mike, is that it was our agents in the United States that were working alongside some state agents, apparently from Chihuahua. So the question seems to be, were to do so by the governor? Did they have from the federal government? Really only Mexico can answer, but again, it's not typical that you'll see U.S. and Mexico working alongside one another.
Fuck you!
But the actual boots on the ground, not common for us to be working alongside.
She's not retired. I'm not retired. There's that. Fuck you. Block your ass up. There's that. There it is. If I'm there's that. Where? There's that.
Those are national security positions and operations. So it's really on a need to know basis.
I'm retired.
Those individuals have the highest level secrets.
Fuck you. If we crash, that's
With friends or family.
that's it on my list. That's it. Well, I'll go after. If fuck you. Fuck you. No, list is nonsense. That's what I'm going to count. Regret.
Information when Americans die abroad, or an investigation to happen on foreign soil, when maybe the other entity, like Mexico, might not want that information out.
It's very hard, and as a federal prosecutor, when there are these deaths overseas and involving Americans, the federal government does have jurisdiction over foreign murders of U.S. citizens, and I can tell you that when the DOJ prosecutes these cases, it can be, a case in the Bahamas, for instance, where a woman has gone missing and is presumed dead. The cases are much harder to investigate because you don't have the resources there on the ground. You don't have law enforcement. You don't have the FBI that can simply go and collect evidence, interview witnesses, surveillance, cell site, other information. So you're really relying on cooperation by local officials there who may not want to cooperate. Either they don't have the access to the technology or the motivation, or frankly, they may be on the payroll of the drug cartel. So it is sometimes difficult to get answers. Of course, my heart goes out to the family of these brave Americans who lost their lives fighting this drug war, but it's certainly not easy to run an investigation, much less conclude it. And even if you do, prosecuting the individuals responsible is challenging. We have to have them extradited to the United States, not involved the DOJ, the State Department. It is not easy.
I ain't never seen this election with his name on the ballot. If do you just say serious?
So certainly very challenging when you're dealing with these issues overseas.
Yeah, very challenging. It feels like we're just at the very, very tip of the iceberg, and probably we never know the true facts here of this case. But Nina, thanks so much for giving us great insight about what is happening right now as the investigation continues. But we appreciate it as always.
Of course, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Yes,
Taking a 2-minute break. When we come back, let's talk about oil prices, gas prices. We have stocks on the rebound, but also oil is shooting back up. We'll break it all down. Coming up next on Live Now from Fox with Fox Business.
Meeting up, you bring your A game. Friday nights, you bring your A game. Bring your A game to your sexual wellness. Along with practicing safer sex, include APR22, prescription medicine used to reduce the risk of HIV. APR22 helps give you continuous protection when taken every other month, and it's proven superior to once daily PrEP in reducing the risk of HIV.
You must be HIV negative to receive APR22 and get tested before each injection. If you think you were exposed
Say.
or have flu-like symptoms, tell your doctor right
Say.
away. HIV testing
Say.
does not prevent other sexually transmitted infections. Practice safer sex to reduce your risk. Get APR22 to schedule. Missing doses increases your HIV risk. Don't take APR22 if you're allergic to it or taking certain medicines that may interact. Tell your doctor about your medical conditions, liver problems, and mental health. Serious side effects include allergic reactions. Get medical help right away. The most common side effect is injection site reaction.
So bring your A game and talk to your doctor about APR22.
So no more. You ain't allowed to street camp. Say. Who the hell you think you is? It's we crazy.
Stella speaking. Stella, help me choose a sparkling ice. Variety pack flavor for everyone. Happy to get together. Happy to get together. Or for lunch if you have a kid. I have a kid. Or some flavors are now available in a 6-pack, so no long-term commitment. The 6-pack sounds great. Oh, great. And then we'll see you as a kid. Oh, great. Endless flavor possibilities. Zero sugar.
Yes, yeah, I'm the fucking dude.
And welcome back, everyone, here to a live down
Oh,
from
that's
Fox. There's
cool.
my face
No, that's
with
it.
you as we continue to roll
Jim,
on
what did that?
this Wednesday edition. Next up, we want to bring you a Fox Business report talking about a new study out that is showing more people
If
leaving California.
we crazy, yes, they know. Well, the fuck we can't. If we crazy, there.
You probably save about 30 almost 40% on your cost of living.
Carl McKnight lived in Fresno for over 50 years. He moved to Tennessee in 2022 and immediately saw a price difference.
My inner, I'm not sure it's loud. To the people here, it's not laughable because they're used to it. But $150 a month to run that thing nonstop, don't even care about it. You know, yeah, that's a big difference.
Years worth of new data reveals what many Californians claim to already know. Prices are pushing people to move to states with lower costs of living.
Home prices were 48%. On average, cheaper. But after 7 years, people were about 50% more likely to own a home than have it in the state.
For McKnight, he sees differences in rent, utilities, gas, and more.
$26 to register your vehicle. Okay, in California, that would have been $900 probably.
Data from the study also revealed that the amount of people leaving high-income neighborhoods is growing.
That doesn't mean that folks from low-income neighborhoods are not also leaving. It just means that over the past 10 years, we're seeing a shift towards more folks from higher income neighborhoods.
If we
And
crazy,
it's not just that are leaving the state.
if we crazy,
Tax revenues and the number of congressional seats California has. It could also mean more affordable housing. Even so, neighbors are seeing a difference across state lines.
Easily 30%, 45% savings.
Right, that was Fox Business report with that new report there on.
Let's we crazy, where is it we were talking about?
Let's talk about.
If we crazy, fuck you. Then who is this? Where do you go? No, that's what you do. Fuck you.
Doing very well, but also, oil is continuing to
I don't know what this is.
How is that all still
Oh,
in play
it's
right
security
now?
specialist. Yes, it ain't on it. That's it. Fuck you.
There's so many headlines, whether it's the risk of the
That's
Strait of
so
Hormuz, the
funny.
war in Ukraine.
Fuck you. Man, just hearing it. Do you think we dumb? Man, just shit. Fuck you.
And stock market's going up because the economy seems to be
What
on
I say?
fire. The demand for oil is still very strong despite
If
the price
fuck
increases that we've seen.
Now, just hearing it. If we dumb. Just hearing it. Who fuck are you? If us like this. Buy me it. If we crash. Just this.
What's this stuff? Growth and a very strong economy. Yeah, absolutely. And, heading into last week,
And medical plans and benefits. If we crash. Just hearing it. So I said that if we crash.
How is the confidence level for ships in that area wanting to get close to the strait?
Fuck you.
Well, right now the ships are scared, right? But the leadership of the United States is not. And I think they're starting to realize what we saw in the Strait of Hormuz was really a sign that the Iranian government is in total disarray, right? On one hand, they're saying, hey, the strait's going to be open. It's open for commercial shipping. Apparently somebody in the Iranian Revolutionary
Do you
Guard,
think I know?
He just decided to
Just
fire
sit there.
that were approved to go through.
Then I don't know. I'm not going to just take care of it. Fuck you.
President Trump said,
Get off of me. I'm a ski. No, I got you now. Dude, just sit there.
In Pakistan, trying to bring them together, and that's why these talks might be back up. So I think one of the big things is, listen, the extension of the ceasefire helped the stock market. Oil is still nervous because we don't know exactly how it's going to play out. But I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of positive signs that even though we saw an increase in price, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I think the market's getting that. Yeah, absolutely. And another thing I want to touch upon too is once we get new news, whenever that is going to be, that maybe the strait is going to be reopened, what kind of insurance companies are going to be signing off on this and saying, yeah, you know what, it seems okay now, go ahead, go for it. It's going to take some time, right? And there's going to have to be some brave insurance companies that are going to do this. The United States even talked about and lending some support to some of these insurance companies.
Larry.
But I'll tell you, the ones that do it, if they're successful, they're going to make a lot of money, right? Where there's more risk, there's more profit potential, right? So if you're willing to take that risk on, and if you do get safe passage through the strait, that's going to be big. And this is the big thing. Who's controlling the strait, Mike? Right now, Iran says they are. The United States, they say they are. We heard all these provocative statements from Iran that this is our strait. They're firing at ships. But right now, what we're finding out from the Trump administration, they're firing at ships, small cargo ships, or not U.S. ships. So they're being very selective at who they're shooting at right now. And the bottom line is this: the U.S. turned away, I think, 20 or more tankers from Iran today. Iran can't keep that up.
Do you
They're
think
going to have
we
to stop
dumb?
producing oil. If they can't get oil out of the Strait of Hormuz, they're going to have to shut down production.
Fuck you.
Iran's oil fields are already not invested in the way that they should be. They haven't been keeping them up. So shutting down those fields for Iran is going to be devastating for the Iranian oil industry. So, President Trump, I think he mentioned, I think that Iran right now is more
we crazy. That's
and, that economic pressure may be the thing that ends this madness we've been going through. Yeah, President Trump said the other day that Iran is losing $500 million a day as the strait is closed.
Why did my foot
longer could they do this?
How do I appeal?
I think the president mentioned, the people are not
This
getting paid
Medicare
in
is a federal program.
it's like
It
they
is
work for our security here at the airport.
Dude, that's
So,
just like
people are
EBT.
upset, so they're
Yes,
not
it
getting
is.
paid. And listen, the way
If
that these
we crazy.
patronage, keeping
Where the
people
hell
well
these
paid,
cans
well
of
fed,
stuff
when they
is?
stop getting well paid, well fed, they start to turn, on the people that we're feeding them. Yeah, no doubt about that. So
Just sit there. You can't use food stamp cards at no gas station.
To the weekend, Bill, we appreciate it as always. Thanks so much for joining us.
It says it right here. Says it. Yes, many gas stations with attached convenience stores accept EBT. Yes, it is. That's it. You can use it. That's there. I know, Father. Yeah, no, you know. No, that's it, sir.
Building the first airport lounge to creating
Then I said, fuck you. Just sit there.
to rewarding you for 100 years, no matter where the journey begins, the destination is always the same. Caring to you.
We were spending so much money individually on major streaming services. We found out there were a bunch of major streaming apps that came with Spectrum TV. So we're saving a ton of money. It was kind of a no-brainer when we moved into it.
If I have a game on the TV, I'll have another game on my iPad, and then I'll have another game on my phone.
I do watch all the sports now,
That also changed my viewing experience quite a bit.
all the movies and the musicals.
Yes, real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit SpectrumTV.com.
Billy, I need help with a clicker.
One second, Grandpa. This guy's gonna buy my car.
Okay, if you need Carvana, what's your plate number?
Boss, MOB.
Features, no accidents, right? Good. Generate offer. Carvana can pick it up tomorrow.
That's an amazing offer. But you still need help with the clicker?
I'll ask your sister.
Sell your car the easy way with Carvana.
You ever take a salty buttery sugar?
Okay.
Hey, Sophie, it's party time.
That's it.
Let's party.
Just sit there.
Love that for lunch and the saltiest.
Spring outfit's so good. My family was on time for
What? You know what you're doing? That's it, sir. Do you think here?
Start your outfit with the season.
I'm done. I'm out here. Yes, you're not. That's it, sir.
And Kohl's and Kohl's.com.
Back to the 2 Live Medical Sponsor One. There's some Mike Facials to get to the White House a little bit earlier today. We had White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt speaking to the media just outside of the White House. Let's listen in. Does he believe that he is
Yes,
Great question.
that's it.
Let's level set on where we are. As you all saw,
Then,
President
do you think I'm dumb?
of the ceasefire, he's making
Sit there.
generously offering a bit of flexibility
Yes,
to a regime
yes, yes.
because of Operation
Who is the president?
It's very
You sit there.
important.
Sit there, Miss Bronson. Leave me alone. Sit there. Fuck you. Do you know? Sit there. The hell's wrong with y'all? They are crap. Just it.
But Operation Economic
I already have.
continues, and the effective and successful naval blockade continues as well of ships and vessels that are moving to and from
That's it.
ports. We are completely strangling their economy through this
I know I
blockade.
can have
They're
them
losing
put it in
$500
those
million
things.
a
Yes,
day.
it is.
Clark Island is completely full. They can't move oil in and out. They can't even pay their own people as a result of this
Not lock your ass
that
up.
President Trump has inflicted over them. So he's satisfied with that as we await.
If we quit, just there.
A firm deadline.
Never mind. Yes, it is.
Iranian
Yes,
forces,
it.
unlike some of the reporting I've seen today, ultimately the timeline will be dictated by the commander in chief of the president of the United States.
If
Well, we
Do you
obviously
think they care? Leave me alone. If we quit, just
an internal division, which again just proves the effectiveness of Operation Epic Fury in the first place. Their regime and many of its leaders for nearly 5 decades have been wiped off from the face of planet Earth. So again, the president's offering them a little bit of flexibility. We want to see a unified proposal to the president's very strong proposal. He's made his red lines very clear. Maintains control over the situation, leverage over the Iranian regime. Not only have they been significantly weakened and obliterated militarily, but they are losing economically and financially every single moment that passes.
If we quit, just
to lead the free as we await the Iranian response. Look, again, I'm not going to set a timetable for the president. He has not done that, and I won't. I know there's been some anonymous source reporting. 3 to 5 days.
Leave me alone.
Himself, ultimately, he will dictate the timetable. And again, he is satisfied with the naval blockade, and he understands that Iran is in a very weak position, and the cards are in President Trump's hands right now.
So then, if we crazy,
That's a question that's political by nature. As you know, I'm not part of the president's political team anymore.
If we
sit
crazy,
here as the
that's
White House
done.
government employee.
If I'm not done, yes, you are. No, talk to her like that. Just sit there and it.
But he's made his position on the results.
I don't know who they are. They don't leave me alone. If we gonna answer. If we crazy, just sit there and it. If you do you think we done?
Do so.
Yes, yes,
This is in the
yes,
best
yes.
interest of the United States and the American people.
That one talk of me think you got to think you know these guys. If who the fuck do you think we ain't got? Exactly anything. If so then shit. Do you know this is? Then again.
The response is you guys all see a lot of different messages.
Do you know if it's me? It's just that. Then again. If we turn they stick it your dumb asses off me. If fuck you.
Much different than what they concede to the United States and our negotiating team privately. I've said that repeatedly to all of you in the news media, and you should take our word for it.
Alright, balls are flying. If fuck you. If till you know if it's that.
Well, I understand.
Nada. Yes, we do. That's it.
Because the previous administration.
But we answer. Do your straight shit.
Obviously, this is something the Commerce Department and the President are
And
tracking.
I can't
Any updates or announcements, but the aviation industry is very
Who
important to the
is this?
President and his White House.
Then who is this anyway?
We want
Don't
to
say
see
shit
the
to me.
best possible
If
outcome, but I don't
do not say shit to me. Fuck you. Say that. Don't say shit to me. Oh, we play.
Again, I've been asked this question a few different times, a few different ways. I'm not going to say
This is Come on, say. Fuck you. Do you take care of it?
Right now, the president chose to extend the ceasefire.
Let's hang on it. Let's take care of it. Do you think we done?
Have been very clear in our demands and our red lines and what we need to see in the best interest of the American people and our country and our.
No, she doesn't matter. It doesn't. Shit else.
The White House and our intelligence community certainly has a good understanding. However, we want to see a unified response and a unified proposal. To the previous question's point, you see a lot of different messaging on social media from many people within the regime. And a lot of that
We could
nonsense is not
just
communicated privately. But again, we want a unified response, and that's what the president
if we could just say shit. Good, I don't know some taste buds. If that's it. If
Yes,
fuck you.
yesterday yesterday I saw the acting attorney general and FBI director do a press conference.
No, I said yes. Fuck you. Then I won't get no facts. It's fuck you. That's so serious. Do you think we done? Get the hell off of this.
In this country, because they've obviously been duping their supporters and the American taxpayers for far too long. It's a criminal organization, clearly, and that's not our DOJ saying that, or Todd Blaze saying that. That's the grand jury that is.
That's it. Thank you.
Earlier today, right outside of the White House, talking on a range of issues. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us.
Dan, do you just think there? It is. Doesn't matter. It's like this. If we could stay there. Where's my car? If we could stay there.
This is the story of the one knows that when the big game stays away, the unexpected can put everything offline.
You want to shake it much into the meeting? Real big. Real good. That's it. Do you think that's there?
Her team will do the same. Call quickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones.
That's it. Then this one I have something else. That's it. Yes. Where's my card? If we could. There. So I said, never works for me. That's it. That's it.
Being a mom is hard. Creating a special Mother's Day gift should be easy. Personalizationmall.com makes it fun, fast, and easy to create personalized gifts with a lot of love and a little less glittery glue.
And welcome back, everyone, here to Live Now from Fox. We have been continuing to cover the David situation from earlier this week. Of course, being arrested. That happened late last week. We found out the news, though, on Monday, and now we are learning new information through TMZ as the medical examiner is now saying the cause of death and how it has been revealed here. So for more on this, let's go on to TMZ's Branson Quirk joining us here with the latest. Branson, and this is just a very sad and horrible story, and you guys are continuing to get new information.
Right. Well, for some time, the medical examiner revealed that he was not able to pin down an exact cause of death due to the nature of the way that Celeste Remus's body was found. As we know, her body was chopped up into 2 bags, black trash bags, put into the Tesla that they found abandoned, David's Tesla. And now they are getting more details from the medical examiner. They were able to pin down with a chart showing that it was due to multiple penetrating wounds. As we know, as we have reported, the medical examiner said that this was done with a, quote, sharp instrument. This was done in the torso a couple of times. There's also some injury to the liver as well, an incision to the liver. On TMZ.com, there's a chart the medical examiner had put into the docs in which David was charged with, and you see in that chart, you see the multiple injuries on her body. Just a horrific situation here. Again, they claim that this happened on April 23rd, and that David was basically lying in wait in a sense where she came out, and that this was a special circumstance of financial gain.
Yeah, just a terrible, terrible story as you're getting more information out there. And was this a situation too where David, the suspect, of course, was hoping that because there were just so many wounds and it was taking so much time that maybe this person would never be identified?
That's the big question right here. I mean, when you look at the entire ordeal here, the Tesla was driven around for months, allegedly. It was parked, and then the body had been in there for some time. It makes you wonder, what was the plan here? What was David's plan? Did he hope that it would just go away? Did he hope that he would dispose of the body eventually? They didn't list all the nature of the body. These are gruesome details.
Leave me alone. Let me speak.
Partially skeletized. One eye remaining. They also found that her one of her fingers was left on the hand that had a tattoo.
It's me.
Some details here. You can read the full details on TMZ.
Yes, yeah, retard.
I'll say the preliminary hearing just
that. Leave me alone. Fuck you. What we
Here, are police looking to see if there was any help with that?
Yeah.
The way
Fuck you.
What happened? Very hard for one person to do that.
Well, in the past, they had looked at a potential person who may have assisted David. He was arrested, but they're looking at all of it. I mean, just to name one thing here, there was a house that David was staying at, and at that home, a lot of people had come in and out of this home in which this Tesla was found. So it's very possible that there was help here. And I imagine with something like a Tesla, they're able to knock down a lot of that with the cameras, the sensors. Who knows what the we haven't even seen yet. We're only in the first because, like they said in the report, in the documents, they're alleging that David had waited 2 weeks after April 23rd to then cut up Celeste Rivas' body. And they also looked at a trip to Santa Barbara that happened in the middle of the night. Potentially he had done that there in Santa Barbara, but there could have been somebody there with him. So it's very possible.
Yeah, so true. A disturbing story all the way around. Brenton Court with TMZ. Thanks so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
No, it's me.
All right, everyone. We'll take another 2-minute break. Stay right here with us.
I'm not hearing and I cannot see. Yes, you can see. Do you think we've done anything? Do you think I'm retarded? Where do you get up saying I'm done? She didn't. The fifth thing, yes, I did. When y'all say I'm retarded, I say it is. What is it you done? I'm not here. Yes, you are here. It's pretty quick.
When creating a home, you want everything to be just right. Whether it's our stylish beds or comfy inti-infused mattresses, we have all the perfect pieces to make it the perfect.
No, stay off from my telepathizers. Don't touch him. That's just your day. You mean Microsoft? But lock your ass up. That shit to it. Come on. Let's go right there. What's up, man?
Good old rice makes saving time and money easier than splitting a biscuit. Paper's looking mighty big for its britches there, Poppy.
Save time and money on prescriptions. Check Good RX.
All right, everyone, welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. We continue to bring you some of the latest top stories and headlines. And one of those stories that we are following for you, an update on just another tragic story. Timothy Hudson, the 16-year-old charged with raping and killing his stepsister, Anna Kepner, aboard a Carnival cruise ship, has pleaded not guilty to those charges. We want to get an update now from Fox 35's Esther Bauer with the very latest to this sad story.
Is still walking free and didn't even have to show up here to court on Wednesday morning. Both prosecutors and the defense are staying tight-lipped on this case but preparing to go to trial.
This federal arraignment lasted less than 2 minutes. The defense said Timothy Hudson is not guilty and they want a trial. The 16-year-old is accused of raping and murdering his stepsister, Anna Kepner, on a Carnival cruise ship. He's facing violent charges, but still isn't locked up, and that didn't change on Wednesday.
I've never seen this, Esther. It's concerning to me, and I really truly think it should be concerning for the community.
We tried to ask the state attorney prosecuting the case why they're not moving faster to lock him up, but they wouldn't say anything leaving the courthouse.
Sir, do you have any comment on your client not being guilty?
Hudson's public defender also wouldn't say anything about the case. We want to know, will Hudson ever be behind bars before trial?
They have to show that he's a danger to society or a flight risk, one or the other. Well, they have to file for a detention hearing to keep him detained.
That's what the prosecution has to do, but so far that hearing hasn't happened and no date's been set. A retired detective says that doesn't make sense because the suspect could hurt others or himself if he's not in custody.
I would want to make sure that my defendant that's being arrested is in custody so he's safe, so he doesn't harm himself.
Both sides now building their case.
So when you move for trials in federal court, they go fast.
He was on insomnia medicine and an ADHD medicine, and it was confirmed by the mother in another court hearing. He didn't take those for a couple of days. When you talk about the defense that's being built, can the missed medicine be something that he will use to say, I'm not guilty?
I would think so. I think that's where they were going with that.
And federal court does move faster than state court, so we could see a trial in months rather than years. If convicted, he could face life in prison. Reporting in Miami, Esther Bauer, Fox 35.
We'll definitely keep an eye on that story for you right here on Live Now from Fox. We want to give you a live look here in Texas. Governor Greg Abbott, he's going to be speaking in the next hour. Right now, taking pictures. Yeah, I got this picture line going on right now with guests where he will be speaking at. So we'll be bringing that to you a little bit later here on Live Now from Fox. Let's go out live now to the Senate floor where we do have Senator Kennedy speaking. Well, let's listen in on Live Now.
I think part of his job responsibilities, not exclusive because I don't know, because he can't talk about it, will be, quote, congressional relations. I have strongly encouraged him to ask the startup to define very carefully what they mean by congressional relations in light of what's been going on. Though we kid him a lot, I'll come back to that too. Tony's very, very smart. He's a graduate of William and Mary. I'm sure there's some dummies at William and Mary, but I've never met one coming out of a great school. He's also spent time at the Wharton School studying their model budget project. He has worked his way up as a member basically a Senate advisor. And let me explain a little bit what Tony and his colleagues did. You see these two doors back here, this one and this one. This one leads to what we call Democratic Club. This door leads to what we call the Republican Club. Now, that's where senators go to cuss, and tell each other's lies, But it's not the only purpose of those. Supposedly we can go back there and relax, and when someone isn't around, and sometimes when they are around, make fun of you. But there are members of our staff who have desks back there. And not every member of our staff has a desk back there. Some are close by. What do? They make this place run. For one thing, they understand the rules, or claim to. No living human being, at least not in the United States Senate, with a beating heart, understands the Senate rules. I'm not saying no one understands them. I'm just saying nobody in the Senate does. They say they do. They lie like fish swim. Because to understand, you don't only have to understand the rules, you've got to understand all the precedents. The first 6 months I got here, I said, I don't know the rules. I read about Lyndon Johnson, who supposedly sat here and learned all the rules and outsmarted all his colleagues. I don't believe that. But anyway, he probably knew more than I did, God rest his soul. But after 6 months, here's what was my conclusion. I don't know if I can learn the rules and all the precedents, and by the time I do, they won't have changed. And someday I'm going to die, and I don't want on my tombstone, Kennedy understood the Senate rules. So I gave up. I quit. No more. And so now when I want to understand the rules, I talk to a member of our staff like Tony or some of my colleagues. And so do most of my Senate colleagues on the Democratic side and Republican. Now our staff could be lying to us because we don't know any better. They could make this stuff up, but I don't think they do. I've never seen Tony make it up. A couple of times I thought I'd call him, but he turned out to be right. And that's important. But it's more than just understanding the rules. That's more than Tony's job and my colleagues' job, who are our advisors. It's more than just learning the rules. Because the rules look like they were designed by a heroin addict with a socket wrench. We don't know how to get things done. So we go to our advisors and say, tell me how to do this. And they're really good at it. Tony's really good at it. And I know sometimes the questions are so esoteric and so bizarre. I can tell from their eyes that they want to look at you and say, you're not the stupidest person I've ever met, but you better hope the stupidest person I've ever met doesn't die. But they never do that. They always say, okay, you can try it that way, but here's the downside. And with all due respect, there's a better way of doing it. And you might consider this. And frankly, our parliamentarian, I see her here, she does understand the rules, and she's pretty good at helping you too. She's got lines she can't cross, but because she doesn't work for the Senate, for Republicans or Democrats. But this is what Tony does and the other staff members. And they make this place run. They're not responsible for the fact that the Senate only works when everybody isn't crazy at the same time. And they're not responsible for the fact that sometimes it takes us weeks, months, even years to get nothing done. Doing nothing, it can be frustrating. Doing nothing is very hard because you never know when you're finished. But they make this place run. And we're going to miss Tony. Now, we make fun of Tony. It's all in good fun. We used to, there's a big mirror back in the cloakroom, I think it's an amphitheater, that's what they tell me. And sometimes we will, I've done it, but others I think have too. Sometimes we'll write little notes to the majority leader. We used to do it with Mitch, and now we do it sometimes with Boone, and sign it Tony. And of course, they all have a heart. Tony keeps a couple of pairs of shoes under his desk. And probably about once a week, some of us take at least one of the shoes and hide. And he's ready to go home at whatever, 11 o'clock midnight. And he can't find the shoe. And Max, who works with him back there, Max is his job is to eventually, after he spends an inordinate amount of time, and he gets really close to the point that he has no more fire trucks to give, and he's going to start telling everybody what he thinks. Max will tell him what the shoe is. I've got some other stories about Tony, but I just can't tell, because there are probably some children listening. But anyway, you will read about Tony someday in the Wall Street Journal. And it won't be because he went Eric's Law. It will be because of his financial success. And we're going to miss him. But I can't blame him. He's already picking out the color of his new Mercedes. You know Mercedes-Benz, Mr. President, if you've got any advice for him, like the best one that deflects heat, you might want to talk to him. He may want to just buy two. Okay? But anyway, we're going to miss Tony, and I wanted to say that, and I'm sorry I can't tell you all the Tony stories. They are legendary, but Tony, you've just been awesome. And you and all your colleagues, we never talked about it. And I just want to thank you. And my final words, peace out. Thank you.
All right, Senator John Kennedy speaking on the Senate floor. What we want to do now is take you out to Texas. We have Governor Greg Abbott. He is speaking live right now to the media. Let's rewind the tape and show to you in full as the media asking questions. And again, there is a big moment happening in Texas news, specifically in Houston, as the Houston City Council has revised their police department and ICE policy change after a threat from the governor. Let's listen in right now, as that will be a major question in this news conference.
But is when everybody's mic'd up. Just tell me when you're ready to go. All right, I'm out in Montgomery County today to get out the vote for Brett Ligon running for the special election for the Texas Senate. Very important for people across Montgomery County, across the entire Senate district, to get out and vote early. Election day is May the 2nd, so just a few weeks away. Take a few questions.
Governor, your take on the city of Houston approving this ordinance, what does it mean to the country?
So listen, what's happening in Houston is outrageous in this sense, and that is, of course, Houston is where Jocelyn Nunley lost her life at the hands of two illegal immigrants. You would think Houston would put safety, especially by and against those who are here illegally, foremost, and to even have a policy that was going to give leave to those who are here illegally was outrageous. And what the city of Houston was, they were in violation of a contract with the state of Texas that required them to comply and work with the United States Department of Homeland Security. They were in violation of that contract. What the city of Houston did by passing the amendment to the ordinance, they brought the city in compliance with the contract. However, also a signer of that contract is Houston Police Department. As of this moment, the Houston Police Department still has not agreed to the terms of what the contract requires. We continue to work with the Houston Police Department to make sure they also get in compliance with this agreement. If Houston Police Department does not deliver the way they're supposed to and comply with the contract the way they're supposed to, it will mean that the city of Houston will lose more than $100 million and be required to pay that money back to the state of Texas. So the contract as of right now, these extra law enforcement funds that would be going to the city of Houston are no longer flowing there because as of right now, the city of Houston still is not in compliance with that contract agreement. But we will release those funds as soon as the police department gets on board and agrees with what the city of Houston passed in the ordinance today.
So based on what they passed, from your perspective, will that unfreeze the funds?
What the city of Houston passed today is an agreement with the governor's office and the public safety office, good enough to be in compliance with the contract. We just need to make sure that the police department goes along with the verbiage that we agreed to and what the city of Houston passed.
And how soon do you expect that to happen?
It better happen in the next 24 hours.
Have you spoken with the mayor?
So I've not spoken with the mayor, but I think what the mayor and city council did is a positive step toward public safety, a positive step toward complying with the agreement they entered into with the state, and what the mayor did and what the city council did today. It's sufficient to make sure that they will be able to not only keep all the money that they've already gotten from the state of Texas, but qualify for additional funds going forward.
And you know, there are some council members who have said that the amended change really didn't do much to change the ordinance legally, in their opinion. What do you think the biggest change is, and why is it now?
Sure. So what they are required to do under the agreement is to comply with any Department of Homeland Security request to detain anybody and to inform Department of Homeland Security about the illegal immigrant that they detain and follow the instructions of the Department of Homeland Security. And what the revised city ordinance does, it fully complies with the terms of that contract, that they are going to detain anybody and inform anybody here illegally, and inform the Department of Homeland Security about who they detain, why they detain them, and follow the instructions of what Homeland Security tells them to do.
All right, thank you so much.
We'll take a few more.
Is there any collaboration with ICE?
In what?
In collaboration with the Department of Homeland Security?
Let me say that second. In what? Collaboration with the. So this is between the state of Texas, the city of Houston, and Houston Police Department. And we're the only three entities a part of this. The term mentioned. This is the contract right here, one page. And what it does is it says that City of Houston, Houston Police Department, they will notify Department of Homeland Security of all information requested by Department of Homeland Security related to illegal aliens in custody of the police department and detain such illegal aliens in accordance with demands by Department of Homeland Security. Then it says down here that they acknowledge that failure to comply with the terms of this letter means that they will, at the sole discretion of the governor's office, we could terminate this and get back all the money that we've given to the city of Houston, which now far exceeds $110 million.
Have you been in contact with the police department today?
My office has been in constant contact with the police department. Yes.
Some council members say that.
I want to clarify something in relation to your question. So, all day long, actually today and before today, my office has been in constant contact with HPD, working on language and for them to make sure they're able to comply. The city passed it, they amended their ordinance that comes into compliance with this agreement. But one of the signers of this agreement is Houston Police Department. We need to make sure that what their rules are for the officers is in compliance with this agreement. And we're working with HPD to make sure the rules they set forth in the aftermath of the amended ordinance comply with this agreement.
Some council members have said that the governor's office has redacted the new agreement, the one that was brought yesterday. Do you agree with that?
You have redacted it?
They will redacted the agreement yesterday with the mayor.
Yeah, I'm not following the question.
You were involved in taking the agreement from yesterday?
Yeah, so we have for several days now, the governor's office has worked with the city of Houston. We wanted to make sure that they would take action to make sure they got to keep the money they got from the state. And so, yeah, our office talked with the city of Houston, office talked with the Houston Police Department. One, two more questions.
Do you think that what happened in Houston, where the ordinance was passed and the state intervened in the way that it did with the state funds, do you think it's set an example for the rest of the state?
Well, for one, it makes it clear to other cities that are going through the same process right now, City of Dallas and City of Austin. They are technically not in compliance with their agreement with the state. The state is working with the City of Dallas, with the City of Austin, for them to come into compliance also. But hopefully we'll learn positive news from each of those cities, like we have from the City of Houston. One more question. You got it all? Thank you. All right, thank you, guys.
Right. Texas Governor Greg Abbott there taking some questions from the media, and we'll continue to keep an eye on those developments with the Houston City Council and the police department as well. All right, let's continue on here on Live Now from Fox. But live, still we have lawmakers continuing to speak on the Senate floor. Let's listen in.
But it falls on deaf ears for Republicans to claim veterans initiatives like the Major Richard Star Act are too expensive, while they push hundreds of billions into Trump's rogue agency for a war of choice. It seems to me Republicans can always find more money for tax cutting. They can always find more money for benefits that go to the billionaires. But not so much when we're talking about working families or veterans. The simple fact is, and remember this point if you remember nothing else of what I say here, the cost of our taking care of veterans is the cost of war. It is one that always must be paid. When we send a service member into war, we are incurring an obligation. We have made a promise. Those injuries result in disability benefits that should not be reduced, nor should retirement pay, just because they are injured. In fact, they should not be punished for being injured. The president may think veterans are suckers, but that's not what the American people think. As Memorial Day approaches, prove to veterans and Americans that you really do appreciate their service. And remember that words without action are meaningless, totally meaningless. And that's why I've introduced an amendment to strike the reconciliation instructions and focus on providing our combat injured veterans who were forced to retire because of their injuries, give them the benefits they earned, the benefits they deserve, the benefits they were promised. Today we have an opportunity to act and to do something meaningful for the thousands of combat injured veterans who have sacrificed on our behalf. I urge my colleagues to make the right decision and support this amendment to advance the Major Richard Star Act. It is lost on me that while I am speaking here, urging for the passage of an amendment that would help our veterans, the Trump administration is actively harming them. Over the past year, the Trump administration has begun deporting procedures for 34 former members of the military and 248 relatives of former military members. This number doesn't include the countless former military members that have been swept up into detention by roving patrols and lawless arrests. These individuals are real people. They are veterans who chose to wear the uniform. They are not abstract entities. They are not numbers or statistics. They are people who raised their right hand, willing to give their lives for our country. Veterans who served and sacrificed so that we could celebrate Memorial Day, so that we could stand here and speak as we wish and worship as we would like in the days ahead. Take William Verme, for example. He's an Army veteran, a Purple Heart recipient who served as a combat soldier in Iraq. On January 13, 2026, he was on a public sidewalk observing ICE arrest 2 young men in his neighborhood. He was tackled, he was arrested, he was driven to detention, he was held in a cell for 8 hours. Or George Reeds, a disabled Iraq War veteran who was detained for 3 days and 3 nights after being arrested on his way to work. On his way to work, he has a job. He's a citizen. He's a veteran. He was arrested and detained. Family members of United States service members and veterans have fared no better. United States Staff Sergeant Matthew Blank recently married his wife Annie and brought her to his base, Fort Polk, Louisiana, to begin their lives together within hours. ICE entered his base and detained Annie, who was brought to the United States as a toddler and has applied for DACA status. Annie was released only after public outcry shamed the administration. Last June, Narcisco Bronco, the father of 3 Marines, was clearing his weeds when immigration agents attacked him from behind and placed him in deportation proceedings. This girl has no criminal record. He's been in the United States for 3 decades. And just this week, Sergeant First Class Serrano's wife, Daisy Rivera, was arrested by ICE during her appointment at an immigration office in Texas. None of these people sought to hide or conceal themselves or run. He was there. And she was at an appointment at an immigration office in Texas. She's been in the United States for over a decade and has legal protections that prohibit her deportation to El Salvador and allow her to legally work. She was at the immigration office, interviewed as part of an application for in place, a program specifically designated to offer protections to military spouses and their parents. This stuff is just unbelievably cruel. It's illegal. It's inhumane.
I need to wash up.
It is also savagely mean and wrong. To encourage the men of our armed services to apply for protections to their spouses. What a term. Only to have those applications entrap their loved ones, spirit them away to detention, and wreak havoc in their lives? Is that the America that we want? It's not the America I recognize as my country, nor is most American. These service members, veterans, and their family members were not convicted of any crime. They were not committing any crime. They were doing the right thing in the offices of the United States government, some of them, when they were tackled, arrested, detained by the same government that gave them so much to serve. Marine Corps cadets did not even enjoy their graduation day this year without fear after the Marine Corps issued a warning that ICE agents would be conducting intent.
Senator Blumenthal speaking on the Senate floor. We'll definitely keep an eye on the Capitol Hill here for you as more lawmakers continue to speak. We do want to take a 2-minute break here. I'm live now from Fox. When we come back, we will take you out to West Virginia, getting an update from the governor and other state officials on a chemical leak that killed 2 people. We'll be back with more. I'm live now.
Drive time makes it easy to buy cars.
Yeah, already approved. That
Customize your own terms on every car.
Oh, there's a little slider thing. I can change my down payment.
Yeah, and we have lots of cars under 15 grand.
Never had this kind of lowest down option. Low monthly payment option. I'm making my own deal on all this.
Mine made easy. This is a commercial. Go get your real deal at drivetime.com.
Sparkling ice cream, last Stella speaking, orange mango, coconut pineapple, peach nectarine, kiwi strawberry. How do you cook up with these delicious flavor combos? Oh, your parents never gave me the talk. The top one, two flavors, love each other, very nice. Oh, you know what? I'm good. So good, thank you. Okay, well, glad to help. Wrong number. Experience the miracle of zero sugar flavor. Sparkling ice, anything but subtle. Whoa, this is juicy.
Get this exceptional offer on the 2025 Visit your local Cadillac dealer today.
We were spending so much money individually on major streaming services. We found out there were a bunch of major streaming apps that came with Spectrum TV. So we're saving a ton of money. It was kind of a no-brainer when we moved in together.
If I have a game on the TV, I'll have another game on my iPad, and then I'll have another game on my phone.
I do watch all the sports now.
So I've also changed my viewing experience quite a bit.
All the movies and the musicals.
Yes, real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit SpectrumTV.com.
Welcome back, everyone, here to Live Now from Fox. I want to take you out live right now to West Virginia. The governor, as well as other state officials, coming together to talk about a plant chemical leak that killed 2 people, unfortunately, and injured 19. Listen in right now on Live Now.
Command Center to bridge any gaps. And we've been in contact with the Kanawha County schools to ensure the safety of our students. We know that we are in that process with our medical examiners. We're going to not be able to speak to much of that right now, but at the end of the process, after autopsies are performed on the bodies, we'll be in a better position to comment and talk at greater depth about everything that happened here today. We have the West Virginia Department of Health that is actively monitoring for public health effects. That's critical. I want to thank how quickly they swung into action as well. And we know that the Department of Health's Office of Emergency Medical Services worked very closely with the Kanawha County Emergency Management Team and their command center to ensure that they had every resource available for medical response. We know that the Center of Threat Preparedness has been in constant contact with our area hospitals, and they're also working to ensure that they have the resources that they need. At the request of Kanawha County, the state's Department of Environmental Protection came in, and we're assisting with the safe disposal of waste materials generated during decontamination. DEP is coordinating with the US EPA, on-scene coordinators, and many others to try to help get to the bottom of this and ensure that the cleanup is handled correctly. Beyond these actions, we know that West Virginia Fusion Center and Emergency Management Division, they are fully engaged. I would say to the people of Kanawha County, your local responders and everyone here, they're doing an incredible job under very difficult circumstances. The state of West Virginia and our team is standing up with them, providing every resource and every piece of expertise available. I know that there'll be a lot of questions from the public, and we may not be able to answer every question tonight, but we want to come before you because it's critical to let you know what's happening on the ground. A couple of really important points to emphasize. Earlier in the day, as out of an abundance of caution, a shelter-in-place directive was put in order. Roads were closed. Initially, there were multiple roads closed, and just 25 was opened, I think, at 4:37 today. Part of the reason for that is there's very high confidence. I want to emphasize to the citizens of this area and in Kanawha County that based upon all the information that we have available right now, we don't believe there have been compromises to the air quality or to the water supply, that's been unaffected by this. That's positive. And once again, that's why the shelter in place was lifted, the roads were open. So I want to assure people that people have been on top of this. They're trying to address this situation. We may not have all the answers to the questions tonight, but as we get information, we will be providing that to you, and we'll try to move very fast as this process will undoubtedly engage many different state and federal agencies. We know that OSHA is involved. We know that the Chemical Safety Board gets involved in cases like this, the US EPA. So as we're all coordinating with all these groups, we're happy to pass along information as we learn it. So that's what we know right now. I'm very grateful for the team that's been working so hard here. They're doing incredible work. And now I want to give the two commissioners an opportunity to say a few words and update folks about what's happening from a Kanawha County perspective. We'll start with you, Commissioner Wheeler.
First off, thank you, Governor, and thank you for being here. We received a phone call very earlier today when this was all going on from the governor's office, and they said that the governor of Patrick Morrissey wanted to be here to get the updates, work with us, and provide any assistance, which he did. So we're very grateful for that and appreciate everything that you and your office has done for us. At this time, since our 2 o'clock, we have lifted all of the shelter in places here in Kanawha County. We have done testing of the air qualities in all the areas, including St. Albans, Nitro, Dunbar, Institute, and looking at the weather patterns, and have found that there is no indication of the chemicals in the air affecting the area or the people there as well. And since that time, the DEP was able to arrive on scene, help clean up the site, and we were able to open up Route 25 so that people could be able to drive through there. This was a collaborative effort from everybody, from the state level, county level, to the local level, and all their officials. And I want to make sure that we take this time to thank everybody, including our first responders, our fire, police, EMS, telecommunicators, emergency management. Everybody acted quickly in response as soon as possible, working together to ensure that we made sure that we cleaned up the containment. We made sure that we knew where it was and who was affected and got them the help that they need, and make sure that they were safe all within seconds after. And a lot of that is also due to our hospital systems, CMC and W. Thomas, who we were working with and communicating very early on from the very beginning, ensuring that we had hazmat opportunities for those who needed to be containment of the individual plant site, and also making sure that people who were having any symptoms were able to be taken care of in an appropriate fashion. So personally, from the Kanawha County Commission and my office, I want to thank the health systems who worked with us and made sure that we were taking care of those affected as quickly as possible. And so at this time, I believe the Kanawha County Commission, along with our emergency management, Metro 911, and all of our first responders, we do feel like the public is safe. There is an active investigation going on with the state agencies, and we are cooperating to ensure that we are transparent and get the facts out as quickly as possible. As you have seen with our 2 o'clock press conference, and now here with the governor and his staff and agencies. So on that, thank you all so much for this collaborative effort working together. I believe we've been able to offer transparency for the citizens of Kanawha County and those in that area, and we will continue as more updates come in to get that transparency and facts out to you as soon as possible. But on that, I would like to ask Commissioner Tennant to come up and make a couple remarks as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Governor, for being here, for offering the support that you have, and for your cabinet members and all the folks who are here, and to our emergency services and to the hospitals, CAC Vandalia. It's been quite a day, and quite a day for the families who are still worried about their loved ones, who went to work today and expected to come home safely. And we think about them, and we think about what those who have tried to help them do. I take from this today also this opportunity to focus on our EMS, to focus on our first responders, because, you know, while I wasn't on the scene here, I've been here all day long and had the opportunity to see how everyone is working. And you're right, Commissioner, the cooperation among state, local, and federal as they have been coming in and will be coming in. But I just want folks to know what it means to be a first responder. We say it all the time that, oh, they're the first responders, they're the best responders. Well, in this situation, when they arrived and Kanawha County ambulances arrived, those folks jumped out of those vehicles and they went straight to help and try to save lives. And yes, indeed, it did put themselves in danger and in health consequences. When we saw 7 of them go to the hospital, and I am hopeful that they are recovering well. They handled contaminated clothing and helped with victims who had been exposed to contamination. And so that's what I think of when I think of this cooperation. That, yes, our first responders are going to be there. Our folks who come from Kanawha County Ambulance Authority. I also want folks to know about, when we talk about collaboration, public transportation was so important in this, and KRT played a vital role as well, not just having ambulances who were taking victims to the hospital, but also KRT putting folks in buses and getting them to the medical needs that they needed. So this was an opportunity to see this expected type of cooperation, but the uniqueness in it as well. And you will continue to see this from Kanawha County, from the state, from our partners, whether it's just in Kanawha County or in other areas. But this is the kind of cooperation that you will see and that the public should expect, and we will continue to provide that to you. So again, thank you all for being here, and please send out prayers to those who lost loved ones and those who are still fighting for their lives.
Thank you, Commissioners. I want to emphasize that we really need prayers tonight coming out of West Virginia for the individuals who lost their lives today, and for the individual we know to be in serious condition, and for everyone who was affected by today's incident. We have a lot of people to thank, and I think we're fortunate to be in a place where we're collaborating, and we're going to do everything we can to help the people of Kanawha County and across our state. So with that, I'd be happy to open it up to any questions from the meeting.
Hi, further off the SCD. What can you tell us, any updates on the conditions of the people who were sent to the hospital?
So I think that at the 2 o'clock press conference, they talked about the individual that was in serious condition. We don't have an update in terms of how many other people may still be in the hospital. We do believe that the phone had checked in. Many could be as a precautionary matter. But as we get additional details in terms of the status, we're happy to share that with you. Obviously, a lot of this is personal and their medical confidentiality, so we want to be sensitive to that. But we know about the 2 who have passed away and the individual in serious condition. Beyond that, we'll wait until we get more information to share with the public. Next question.
What's the state going to do overnight to continue to monitor this?
Yeah, well, we've been doing a couple things already. First, I know for DEP and monitoring to ensure that the air has not been contaminated. There's similar efforts going on. We know, fortunately, that any water intake is pretty far away. But the DEP has really been very proactive, trying to ensure that the air is unaffected by what's going on. And that process will continue over the course of the upcoming days. Our DEP got on top of it very, very quickly, and are pleased to work with our emergency management division and the other state agencies involved. So we're going to continue that effort, because we want to make sure that what we just told you in terms of the air and the water remains true. That's important. We have to monitor that. One of the questions I asked during our briefing earlier is there any other circumstance where we've seen these various chemicals that have come together And I'm not aware of that right now, but you always want to make sure you know what's happening in the short term and the longer term. And we, of course, want to monitor both. I have not had communication with them. I'm not sure if others on the team. I think DEP has been working on site or working with our contractors for cleanup. There's probably some coordination there. But obviously there's going to be an investigation of everything that happened today. And so we've been working and collaborating with everyone.
Obviously, thinking of the bigger picture, there are several chemical facilities across the state. What can the state do to ensure something like this doesn't happen again?
Well, I think first we have to do a analysis of everything that's happened. So it's a little premature on day one to know everything that occurred. We know that the reaction chemicals met is not supposed to occur. But beyond that, there's still a lot that needs to be determined.
That was the governor and other state officials coming together to talk about that incident and unfortunately killed 2 people and injured 19 others. We'll continue to keep a look at that story for you and so much more coming up next on Live Now from Fox.
We were spending so much money individually on major streaming services. We found out there were a bunch of major streaming apps that came with Spectrum TV. So we're saving a ton of money. It was kind of a no-brainer when we moved into that.
I'll have a game on the TV, I'll have another game on my iPad, and then I'll have another game on my phone.
I do watch all the sports now.
That also changed my viewing experience quite a bit.
All the movies and the musicals.
Yes. Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit SpectrumTV.com.
What's that? It's compounded hot wash.
That's a weight FDA approved.
Smells like makeover to me. Boys, this here's the real deal. Yeehaw!
Weight loss plans for $39 per month plus Medicare. Check it out. When you use Primrose Fine Fragrance, you feel like what? Meticulously designed and refined by master scent specialists. Primo, the crown fit for you.
Young and adult pets have accidents, even if they're house trained. Some sprays just mask the odor without targeting the mess. Rocco and Roxy's bioenzymatic formula breaks down stains and odors at the source instead of covering them up. No heavy fragrances or temporary fixes. Rocco and Roxy leaves no traces of the mess that could trigger repeat accidents. See why pet parents everywhere trust us. It's the proven choice to safely and completely remove stains and odors.
Filmmaking is a team sport. Nothing on track is also pretty good.
Everything has to move together, the same rhythm, the same direction.
When every department is working together, it's the most exhilarating part of the job. IMDb Pro is where everything's better.
The search feature really helps me find people that I want to work with.
My IMDb Pro page, that is my resume. There's a mutual connection feature that I love. You can find me on IMDb Pro.
Back everyone now to Lockdown from Fox. So what's going on down in Capitol Hill? On the Senate floor, lawmakers continuing to speak. This is Senator Whitehouse. Let's listen in on Lockdown.
The court concluded that without stopping the EPA's rule before it went into effect, before any court had actually considered it, that would cause irreparable harm to the fossil fuel industry. Specifically mentioning that private industry will suffer irreparable harm. This at a stage in the proceedings where the question of whether that harm even existed had still not been properly litigated. So I go back a ways on this. In 2015, in one of my Time to Wake Up speeches, I said that the Supreme Court has handed the polluters a heavy cudgel with its misguided Citizens United decision, allowing big corporations to spend, or more important, threaten to spend, unlimited amounts of undisclosed money in our elections. More than anyone, polluters use that leverage to demand obedience to their denial script. Another one, 2017. The Supreme Court's Republican appointees are in the habit of doing what they were told by the forces that appointed them, which include the fossil fuel industry, which asked for the Citizens United decision. And in a fateful combination of obedience and political ignorance, they wrecked our politics. A year later, I described how Republican strategists are expanding their grip to the Supreme Court, building there a reliable Republican majority. I warned that we mustn't try to replicate that apparatus. We must expose it. And when we expose one part of the apparatus, we expose all. Because it's the same crew behind hacking the courts and denying climate change and running the dark money machine. In January of 2010, I said, the 5 Republicans on the Supreme Court gave the fossil fuel industry the Citizens United decision. The industry instantly turned its new political weaponry on the Republican Party. And bipartisanship on climate change was stamped out by fossil fuel threats. This integration between the fossil fuel industry and the Supreme Court and the dark money power that the fossil fuel industry has used to crush climate action in Congress is something that has been apparent for some time. In 2020, I added Citizens United unleashed toxic doses of money and unprecedented doses of virulent dark money into our political atmosphere. Once democracy is poisoned, stunned by secret fossil fuel money and threats, it fails to listen to plain warnings. And in 2022, I called this the court the dark money bill. In 2022, I said, it is probably more accurate to say that we now have the court that dark fossil fuel money bill. So it comes as a little surprise that these memos from the court should reveal that linkage between the Republican appointed justices and the fossil fuel industry. And of course, it should come as no surprise that the roots of this shadow document that has been used so politically by the Republican majority on the court, the roots are found in an act of service to the fossil fuel industry billionaires who captured the court. If you look at the scheme to maintain the fossil fuel industry's free to pollute business model, where they get away with polluting as much as they like with no cost or consequence, you have to look at the Supreme Court facilitating this. Citizens United, of course, signaled the end of climate legislation because the unlimited dark money that the fossil fuel industry could use to shut down climate action in this body was successful. Unlimited fossil fuel dark money was brought to bear on Congress, and our ability to solve this problem collapsed. Look before the Citizens United decision, look back to 2007, 2008, 2009, my first years here, there was robust negotiation on major climate legislation. 4 different strategies here in the Senate. 3 major bills, bipartisan bills, and a presidential candidate in John McCain who ran on a perfectly legitimate climate conflict. All that dead the day the Citizens United decision came down and the fossil fuel industry pounced with its new dark money power. But it's not enough to stop legislation. If you want to protect your freedom and business model, you also need to stop regulation. And that's where this clean power plant decision came in. That's where the subsequent major questions doctrine came in. That work by the Supreme Court signaled the end of climate regulation. The Supreme Court included into a decades-long regulatory process and rebooted it to protect against regulation. We would limit the free to pollute business model of fossil fuel industry. And as I've said in other speeches, that major questions doctrine did not come from the heads of the Supreme Court justices in that decision. It was cooked up in fossil fuel funded doctrine factories, massaged, maneuvered into conferences, propagated by the Federalist Society, all conferences. It was groomed and grown so that the Supreme Court could pick it up in a decision, which of course they did. So if you shut down climate legislation and you shut down climate regulation, what's left is climate litigation. The people harmed by all this damage from all this pollution usually have a right to a lawsuit. And sure enough, lawsuits are emerging. So the next project of the court is to attack climate litigation. And sure enough, the fossil industry is all over the court, asking it to shut down the prospect of climate litigation. And guess what? That little rascal, Leonard Leo, was the fixer, the implementer of the court capture scheme, who worked with Trump's counsel McGahn to get the 3 Supreme Court justices Trump supposedly appointed. Separate argument. I think they were actually selected by the Koch brothers political operation. Trump was the Trump at the end of the deal who signed off on it. But Leonard Leo and his millionaires were the ones who put that scheme together. They put the whole concept of a Federalist Society list together. And of the completely untrustworthy President Trump being obliged to say publicly that he would pick off that Koch brothers list and call it the Federal Society list, calling it a fossil billionaires list with themselves. And then they ended up with these judges. The guy in the middle of all of that was this little fixer, Leonard Leo. Guess what Leonard Leo did? He has an array of maybe 25 front groups that he orchestrates. Some of them are actual corporate entities, some are what are called fictitious names for his corporate entities. So you have a front group which has a fictitious name that you operate through. Why you need to do that? A little hard to say, but if you're up to no good, I suppose you want as much camouflage as possible. Well, Leonard Leo and his front groups are all over right now is trying to shut down climate litigation to make it a clean trifecta so that one industry is free to pollute as much as it wants with no legislation, no regulation, and no litigation that can stop it. Again, it goes without saying that pollution is not something that should be allowed. It is certainly not something that should be allowed for free. But money will buy you a lot. And the fossil fuel front group entities who come into the court to tell them what to do, that I would say 100% winning record before the court are starting to gather around shutting down climate litigation as well as regulation and legislation. In other words, a captured court delivering the goods for the billionaires who captured it. So let's go through these different memoranda as they came out. The first is from the Chief Justice, John Roberts, dated February 5th, 2016. He is responding to emergency applications seeking that the EPA's Clean Power Plan stayed. And on the 31st page, he communicates to the other justices, absent a stay, the Clean Power Plan will cause, and is causing, substantial and irreversible reworking of the domestic power sector. That's a fact-finding made without any court having found that. It is a fact-finding by a court that is not supposed to engage in fact-finding in the first place. And it is a disputed fact in the case before the case is even litigated. And yet here's the Chief Justice of the United States going with the factual argument of one of the parties even before argument related to an emergency stay. He has to admit to his colleagues that the rule does not require emissions reductions until 2022. It's dated 2016. 6 years later, it might require emissions reduction. But then, February 5th, 2016, he says its impact is being felt now. He's taking the side of one party on a contested fact and saying that the impact of that contested fact, as he sees it, is actually being felt now, 6 years ahead of when anything has to happen. He says that the applicants indicate, again, an assertion by a party, the applicants applicants indicate that they are currently in the process of putting total resources to compliance. That's the reason to shut down the Clean Power Plan. He says that the impact of the rule will reduce coal production for power sector use by 2.0%. Over 2% reduction. He jumps completely out of his lane, makes fact-finding, and shuts down the regulation before it's even been considered by the lower courts. And then he says that the harm is irreversible. I ask unanimous consent to have the Chief Justice memorandum added at the end of my remarks. Without objection. That memorandum was responded to relatively by Justice Breyer, who noted first it is unusual for this court to issue a stay of an agency's order during the time that the Court of Appeals is considering its lawfulness. It's a live legal dispute in the Court of Appeals, and the Supreme Court is jumping in to stay it. That was not just unusual, it was unprecedented. And as Justice Breyer points out, it is difficult at this point to say that the absence of a stay will cause irreparable harm. Even among the justices, that is a contested fact. And yet, the Chief Justice is going to allow his view of that contested fact, even though it's supposedly not a fact-finding body in the first instance. As I mentioned a moment ago, and as Justice Breyer points out, the order does not require any company to take action for 6 years. So it's hardly an emergency. Finally, pointed out that all of the applicants were free to renew their applications for a stay once the DC Court of Appeals had done its work. They come right back to the court and get the stay down, rather than jump ahead of the Circuit Court of Appeals. And it notes that the Circuit Court of Appeals has agreed to proceed on an expedited basis. Well, it didn't take long for the chief to respond to that. He wrote right back saying that private industry will suffer irreparable harm from a rule that is, in my view, unlikely to survive. That is findings that are contested even within his court, and that he shouldn't be making in the first place. But he's also predicting the legal conclusion of how this is going to end up in his court. Says the court will not issue a decision until 2018 at the earliest, still 4 years before that date. Long after the real world impacts of the rule would have been felt. He says there will be ongoing cumulative and irreversible harm that private parties are incurring each day. Again, that's a contested fact. But he's willing to say that as a deliberate actuality and not a point in contention. Justice Kagan comes back to him to say, as far as I can tell, it would be unprecedented for us to second guess the DC Circuit's decision that a stay is not warranted without a full briefing or a prior judicial decision. She calls this a drastic and unusual remedy and points out that this fact that Chief Justice Roberts has so readily rushed to, the applicant's assertion is both entirely speculative and undoubtful, challenging the fact that the Chief Justice offers.
I had watched, I came back in here and my soda, my drink wasn't in the refrigerator.
It is implausible, he says, that such a minor emissions reduction to be achieved 6 years hence will require substantial and irrevocable commitments of resources in the coming months. Then in comes Justice Sotomayor. I agree with Steve Breyer's proposal and Elena Kagan's supplement to that proposal. As Elena notes, it would be unprecedented for us to grant a stay before any court has reviewed this complicated and complex case. No applicant, she says, no applicant has identified a single real plant, an actual facility, as opposed to a hypothetical model plant that is in immediate danger of closure and set a stay. Challenges the costs that have been discussed by the Chief Justice. And she points out that an emergency stay, unlimited briefing before the DC Circuit, with your argument on this regulation, is 4 months. Just wait 4 months and get the proper order, Circuit Court of Appeals and Supreme Court. Faced with that, in chimes Justice Alito, brought onto the court with Leonard Leo at the White House, helping make the selections. He concludes saying a failure to stay this rule threatens to render our ability to provide meaningful judicial review, and by extension our institutional legitimacy a nullity. Instead of robust judicial review, our opinion will be a mere postscript. Remember, this is a rule that won't have effect for 6 years, where there will be a proper appellate court decision below in 4 months, and all of that is intolerable to Justice Alito, a product of the billionaires / Leonard Leo court packing operation. And the closer is Justice Anthony Kennedy, who writes an unusually brief decision compared to all the others, or memorandum compared to the others, Simply concluding fairness to the parties, counsel that we should grant the stay now, and I agree with the recommendation of the chief. That gave the chief the votes, they granted the stay, and the Clean Power Plan died. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the remaining memorandums that I referred to be appended at the end of my remarks in the sequence in which I described them. Without objection. So, what's the backdrop to all of this? The backdrop to all of this is the massive amount of harm that is caused by fossil fuel emissions. The pollution is really astounding. The International Monetary Fund most recently assessed the cost of fossil fuel pollution and of its free-to-feed business model in the United States of America at $770 billion in 1 year. $770 billion in benefit to the fossil fuel industry, a form of subsidy, for being allowed to pollute for free and not being obliged to clean up this mess. They are allowed to cause $770 billion worth of harm to Americans for $0. When you're allowed to cause $770 billion worth of harm to ordinary Americans for $0, you have a massive motive to corrupt. You have a massive motive to apply manipulations. You have a massive motive to take advantage of the dark money that you pressed the Supreme Court to allow and authorize and bring that to bear on Congress to make sure that the $770 billion annual pollute for free subsidy is protected. What did you note about my discussion about the court's conversation on harm? You should have noted that 100% of the court's conversation on harm was on harm to the polluters. It was the only harm that you mentioned or considered. The entire argument about staying the Clean Power Plan hinged on an analysis of harm that only looked at the harm to the polluter. There was no mention of climate change. There was no mention of the harm of emissions. There was no discussion of the damage from climate change, of what it's doing now and could be projected back then to do to insurance markets, what it was causing in sea level rise. But the ancillary pollution of fossil fuel that isn't climate change pollution, but is lead, mercury, SOx, NOx, particulate matters, is doing. They literally turn a blind eye to fossil fuel pollution, measured at $770 billion worth of harm most recently, turn a blind eye to it, and focus totally on the harm that will be done to the fossil fuel industry from having to comply with clean power. Other studies have shown that the amount of money spent on the operation to capture the court, short word on court capture, goes back to the well-acknowledged agency capture or regulatory capture, mining interests would make sure that all their friends were appointed to the Mining Safety Commission, so they could know that the Mining Safety Commission was the answers they wanted. This agency capture would make sure that all the lackeys were appointed to the Railroad Rates Commission, to make sure that all the railroad rates that were set were advantageous to them, and that they could make sure that the rates that they want. TTC is a renowned phenomenon. It's written about constantly in administrative law. There's a whole field of economics that studies it. And what happened here is that agency capture or regulatory capture was brought to bear on the Supreme Court. And it is now turned into sensation that has this big. And the number that I'm referring to is the amount that was spent on that court capture operation. People who really good research have dug into this, and at this point, more research will make the number bigger, certainly, but at this point, it looks like about $600 million, million with an M, was spent on the court capture operation. Now, that's a lot of money. But it's not a lot of money if you're defending a $770 billion annual subsidy that lets you pollute for free when you shouldn't be allowed to do that, and nobody else is allowed to do that. Protecting that $700 billion for $600 million is probably the most lucrative investment the fossil fuel industry has ever made. And if you pile up the years since the Clean Power Plan was stopped, that was in 2016, now it's 2026, so 10 years. That subsidy number has grown over the years as the International Monetary Fund has done more and more detailed and better job of figuring out all the added harms, and as harms are piling up. So if you look at 10 years, it's not 7.7 trillion. It's probably a number closer to $6 trillion. But think about that. What the Supreme Court did in its one decision by breaking all of its own rules and looking only at the fossil fuel industry's harm is to set loose $6 trillion worth of harm over the next 10 years that all of us have had to pay for. In health, in harm, in lost property values, and increased insurance, in a myriad of different ways. $6 trillion over those 10 years. That makes $600 million and capture the court that made that decision an amazing payback, but a really, really dangerous payback for the American public. I'll conclude by saying that whether you look at this as an aspect of the scheme to capture the court, or whether you look at it as an aspect of the endless fossil fuel pollution that is causing us to need to wake up before it's too late, either way you look at it, the rot runs deep around fossil fuel, and it seems to have infected the court right over there. I yield the floor.
Alright, you're listening in there to lawmakers taking the floor here on this Wednesday evening, just about 7 o'clock local time, as we are busy watching and waiting others to step to the microphone as their own chance to speak, to get things off their chest. So let's watch and wait for just a little bit here as we're almost approaching the top of the hour. It's been a busy day around the country and around the world. We talked about when you're lying down, including a more power resolution vote that they don't remove through the House and Senate Republicans defeated for a fifth time. That happened earlier today in an effort to halt military operations against Iran. Let's listen to
California. Mr. President, it has been 13 months to the day since the House first passed Donald Trump's one big ugly bill. 290 days since it was signed into law. The largest cut to health care in American history. $1 trillion slashed for families, children, seniors, our most vulnerable. Billions taken away from hungry families. Millions of Americans pushed closer to poverty, closer to financial ruin. Rising costs, and for what? To pay for tax cuts for the richest Americans, to give big corporations another leg up, and to give ICE and CBP a budget so astronomical it rivals the military budget of many industrialized nations. For the average American, it's been 290 days of lost opportunities and less affordable health care. Of harder conversations at the kitchen table, of more sleepless nights worrying about how to get by, of more skipped meals, more doctor visits postponed. Week upon week, American families hoping against hope that this president and this Congress might recognize the difficulty that they're facing, the struggle they're enduring, and the central promise that this president is breaking. Day one of Donald Trump's final term is long past, but the prices, much to the contrary of what he promised, have not dropped. His first 100 days are now 15 months ago, and still inflation persists. Indeed, it is worse. 290 days into the lifespan of President's supposed signature legislative achievement, this big ugly bill, and life for some Americans is not bigger and is not more beautiful. At gas stations across America, the reality of Donald Trump's America is clear. At grocery stores from California to the Capitol, that reality is hitting people in their pocketbooks. And we're not on the right track either. An illegal war in Iran that is neither a clear goal nor an end game, that has pushed prices higher, that has rocked markets on a daily basis, and made the summer road trip that so many families are looking forward to the latest victim of Trump's economy. A misguided tariff agenda that's been struck down by the highest court. But now this administration will only take steps to return the billions in illegal duties it levied to the corporations that charge them, not the Americans who paid them. This body recognizes the immense strain that our constituents are under. I know it does. Because people are making their discontent loudly known at the ballot box and in public fora all over the country, in red states and the blue states alike. We know. I can assure each and every one of you watching that members of Congress understand the American dream is slipping out of reach. We know that you're worried about making ends meet. We understand that you're agonizing over whether you can keep your business afloat or what opportunities will be there for your kids. We have heard your stories. We understand the dread you feel as you near the first of the month, the fear that is all too real when you open the mailbox, unsure of what surprise bill will arrive and tip your family into bankruptcy. The terrible math that you must use to decide which dose of medicine or which meal you can afford to skip just to keep the lights on. This is the reality for so many Americans, and we understand that. It might be worse. They could just accuse the Congress of being in the dark if we were somehow blind, rather than a majority of this body willfully turning a blind eye to the struggles of regular people. But as I stand here recounting to you the myriad ways in which the past year of Trump's America has gotten harder, a reality that we live every day, Republicans are getting ready to act on their next big budget resolution. Not to help drive down costs, not to address the healthcare crisis, not to do something to help. No. Their grand plan to address our nation's challenges is asking the American taxpayer to give even more money out of their pocket, out of their bank account, to ICE and Border Patrol agents. An out-of-control police force that has killed Americans and terrorized our streets. And they want more money for CBP and ICE without even a modicum of reform. Now, how is that supposed to help your life? And the short answer is, it isn't. There is nothing in this bill to make your health care, your energy, or your housing more affordable. Nothing. So if there's no money, no billions in this bill to improve the quality of your life, just what are my colleagues proposing to spend these billions on? And it is this on agencies that have shot and killed American citizens in our streets, in broad daylight, on video, for exercising their constitutionally protected right to free speech. The agents that have broken into homes, refused to show their faces or their badges, and taken children from their parents. This run-amok force that has defied court orders, detained citizens and people with lawful status, denied them basic medical treatment, which has resulted in an unprecedented number of deaths in immigration custody, and denied their constitutional rights. ICE and CBP get $140 billion in this bill after getting close to $170 billion less than a year ago, for a whopping total of $340 billion. I'm sorry, but that's an insane amount of money. That's more than we give to the Marine Corps and the FBI and the DEA and all the other federal law enforcement agencies combined. So we take the money from the Marine Corps, one of our incredible military services, and you add it to the money for law enforcement agencies like the FBI and the DEA and the ATF, and you add it all together, it is a fraction of what we're given to just these two pieces of immigration enforcement. That's what they get. That's what these agencies get. $340 billion. And you get nothing. You get not a dime. After putting more than $3 trillion on the nation's credit card to give tax breaks to the rich and to give these agencies the funding to arm themselves to the teeth, after taking our healthcare dollars and arming them into heavily armed and ill-trained ICE agents, they want to put even more money into what is becoming Trump's private army. A Gallup poll released last month found that about 1 in 3 adults, U.S. adults, equivalent of about 82 million people, reported having made at least one daily life trade-off in the past year to pay for healthcare expenses. That's 39 million Americans stretching a prescription longer than the doctor recommended. It's 38 million Americans going into debt to pay a medical bill. It's 28 million Americans skipping a meal. 1 in nearly every 10 Americans reporting the cutback on utilities and the amount they're driving. And that was even before gas prices spiked, thanks to Trump's Iran war. No solution in sight. And we see these impacts playing out across the country in real time. Month after month, week after week, hospitals are shutting down, clinics are closing, workers are laid off, services are canceled, and families are paying more out of pocket and going without the care they need. Earlier this year, a hospital in Oakland, California, announced plans to lay off 300 medical staff because it's projected to lose more than $100 million a year thanks to the big ugly bill. Another hospital in Santa Rosa, California, had to shutter its pediatric unit. Corona, California lost its labor delivery unit. Clinics in Madera and Fresno had to lay off staff. There are so many of these stories. And thanks to the $1 trillion Medicaid cut forced by Republicans in their last budget. Over layoffs and service cuts were not enough to balance the budget. A worse fate awaited these healthcare providers. Clinics in Compton, Gilroy, Santa Cruz, San Mateo, and South San Francisco all closed their doors thanks to Donald Trump. Thousands of Californians, all now without a place to go for medical care. That's if they can afford care at all. Our insurance marketplace in California saw a 30% decline in enrollment as premiums spiked to sometimes double what they were paying for their health care before the big ugly bill. Health care, let's face it, is not a Republican priority. This is something I'm not willing to fund. This is not something in this bill. Instead, we're asked to fund immigration agencies that have already seen their budgets explode and their accountability erased by this administration. For months, Democrats have sought on behalf of the families and communities terrorized by ICE to enact basic guardrails, reforms, and oversight of their conduct, to mandate they wear body cameras and clear identification just like any other law enforcement agency, to stop the use of excessive and deadly force, and to guarantee that when they do, there is accountability in the form of truly independent investigations, to mandate the use of judicial warrants so that when they're going to someone's home, as the Constitution requires, they have a judicial warrant, to stop racial profiling and the targeting of schools and churches. All this for a reason. So we don't have more tragic victims like Alex Preddy or Renee Good, or the people who died in detention centers like Luis Beltran Yanez Cruz or Gabriel Garcia Aviles, a list that is already far too long. Now, bear in mind these reforms that I've mentioned are all wildly popular with the American people. And we have worked in good faith to try to secure these very basic guardrails, saying clearly that until these common sense measures can be implemented, we would vote not for one more dime for these agencies that have taken lawless instructions from the likes of Stephen Miller and Greg Levino. But the administration and my Republican colleagues don't want to solve the problem of excessive use of force by ICE and CBP. They don't want the accountability. They don't want the reform. And so they will use this budget and reconciliation process to bypass the need for changes to how ICE and CBP operate, to jam more money through without Democratic support, and to advance a budget that contains liberally not a single dime for health care, hospitals, food and groceries, energy bills, nothing but more money for ICE and CBP. And the terrible tragedy is that we in this chamber, we here could meet this challenging moment in our nation when people cannot afford the cost of living. We could meet that need with a budget that would help people in need. John F. Kennedy, on his first day of office, stood on the west steps of the Capitol and said, if a free society cannot help the many who are poor, it cannot save the few who are rich. For every day of Donald Trump's second term, he has sought only to save the rich, to have those that already have so much, to line pockets that are already so deep. And in doing so, he has revealed his campaign rhetoric to be just that, just words. Our Republican colleagues may see this as a convenient way to avoid our demands for accountability. But the American people will see this as a failed opportunity for the GOP as it squanders perhaps the last chance in the 119th Congress to act meaningfully on making America affordable again. The attempt to sell the three-bedroom bill, and it has failed. The American people were not fooled. Neither will they be fooled now. Because the billions wasted and the millions hurt will not go unnoticed. There will be an accounting, if not now, then in November. And the American people's rejection of this president's agenda will be big. And in its own way, it will be beautiful. It will certainly be necessary. If we are ever to make this economy work for people again, we must reject more money for lawless agents in favor of more money for health care for the American people. I yield back.
Just listening in there to the Senator Adam Schiff from California speaking on health care in one big beautiful bill. We're seeing lawmakers on both sides speak out here midweek on a variety of topics. Let's find a way for a quick dinner break. We'll have headlines after this.
Eczema is unpredictable, but you can flare less
with Eclipse. A once-monthly treatment for moderate to severe eczema that helps you spend less time managing your symptoms.
Eclipse can deliver real and lasting results, like skin that's still more clear at 1 year. Don't use if you're allergic to Eclipse. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Eclipse. Before starting Eclipse, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection. Clear skin, itch relief. Once monthly dosing with or without topicals. You can flare less with Eclipse. Talk to your doctor about Eclipse for eczema.
At Castle Super Important, caring for our customers and the Northwest Indiana community comes first. That means an easy, transparent buying experience comes around what matters most to you. With a full lineup of Subaru vehicles designed for safety, reliability, and confidence in every season, we are ready for wherever life takes you next. And from your first visit to every mile ahead, our team is committed to being there for you. Take advantage of this incredible offer today. Shop easy, drive happy. Visit us online at castlesubaru.com.
Hey Dan, have you heard of Kalshi? Yeah, the prediction market that lets you trade anything from sports to alien sightings. Alien sightings? When does that happen? You're probably right about the Blue Man too. Hey, that's not true. We did that. You wasn't there, bro. You wasn't there.
And wait, what's the arch?
395. Welcome back to Year 3 Live now for Box on and Eddie back. Let's take you back down to Washington, D.C. in Capitol Hill as we're soon to hear and have lawmakers vote during this Oklahoma session beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern. Until then, let's dig down into some of the lawmakers we heard from. One senator from California. Let's now listen in to the other Alex Padilla and dive into this on Live After Box.
That's only 7 times ICE's typical annual funding and more than 4 times the typical annual appropriation for CDP. That was last year. And what they did with that money, before we entertain, should we give them even more? Let's see what they did. They went on a so-called defend the homeland hiring spree. They brought on unqualified recruits who were deployed into communities across the country with clearly insufficient training. Let me lay it out. Let me break it down for you. In just 6 months, ICE doubled its number of agents from 10,000 to over 22,000. More than double. And the innovate reach those numbers, it's to cut into corners and to lower standards. That's what they did. They dropped the minimum age for ICE officers is 18 years old. And they reduced the required training to 47 days. 47 days. Let me put that figure into context. To be a DC Metropolitan Police officer here in the streets of our nation's capital, it takes 28 weeks of training. Basic training at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center is 12 weeks. The Los Angeles Police Department, where I'm from, that takes 6 months of training before you are on the job. But to be an ICE officer, just 47 days, and then you're given a gun and a badge and deployed into the field. We've seen the record that DHS has rushed applicants through a very sloppy vetting process. It's led to the hiring of numerous officers with questionable backgrounds, clearly unfit to do these jobs. We've also seen reports that about a third of the recruits at the ICE Training Academy failed what's considered a relatively easy physical test. And a number of others were sent home because they failed a written exam which, by the way, a written examiner wished they could use textbooks and notes, but they still failed. Here's a quote from an article by the Associated Press that really shines light on what's happening with this ICE hiring spree. Quote, 2 bankruptcies and 6 law enforcement jobs in 3 years. Description of what happened. There's another allegation of lying in a police report to justify a felony charge against an innocent woman. An incident that led to a $75,000 settlement and criticism of his integrity. How's that for a description of an ex-officer? A third job candidate once failed to graduate from a police academy, then lasted only 3 weeks in his only job as a police officer. They're common bonds. All were hired recently by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement during an unprecedented hiring spree after the agency received a $75 billion windfall from Congress. End quote. Don't take my word for it, colleagues. Actual reporting. So let's, again, assess where we are. Republicans gave ICE and CBP $140 billion. Questionable histories, questionable temperaments, and questionable ability to do the job. And you're going to tell me you're surprised by the chaos and the violence that we've witnessed unfolding in the streets across America this last year? If you're hiring all these unqualified people, encouraging them to advocate, you throw out the rule books and the training manual and ensure that there's little or no oversight and accountability, it's entirely predictable that chaos will ensue. And especially when they're led from the top by people who regularly dehumanize others. Okay. Whose goal is to inflict pain.
Take your mind off of me. Turn down. Fuck you.
As deterrence. It's exactly what we're saying. We're seeing agents out in
That's right. Fuck you.
We're seeing cars being driven off the road. The windows smashed in. The occupants literally dragged out through.
That's it. If we crack. That's so many ideas. Okay, fuck you.
Hardworking people who are just trying to
What the hell is fighting people over some shit? Y'all don't know me. If we crack. Fuck you.
For exercising the First Amendment rights, like 21-year-old Caden Brugler currently lost his vision in 1 hour after being shot by agents at close range.
This is about something else. What's that? Fuck you.
So we also
I want to retire. What's that?
2 United States citizens.
Getting mad at motherfuckers for being smart in here. If I'm retired, that's it.
On camera in broad day.
Broad day. What's that?
Democrats are demanding competence reforms to address this outrageous behavior. You should be too. The competence reforms we're talking about are nothing other than policies that state and local law enforcement officers across the country already have to abide by. Instead, Republicans continue to refuse. And that is why we're here today. Because the a single dollar
yeah, with Rihanna.
to control unaccountable agencies.
What's that? All my catch up. That's it. Fuck you. Who is it? It's with that. That's right. That's right. Fuck you. She ain't dumb. She just dumb. It's Big Fat. Who is this? That's right.
$103 billion in unspent funds from last year's grant.
That's who is this? That's right. Big Fat. That's it.
That's 84% of the funding from last year.
Do you think I'm dumb?
62% of its funding from last year.
I'm about to find out.
There was a ton of
Hey, you go turn.
And you want to give them more. You'd rather give them more when they don't need it than negotiate necessary changes to the agency. That's outrageous. And it's come to the time. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough money for Medicare and Medicaid. That can cut those programs. But clearly, he and you all believe we have enough money to give another.
That was some music group called Destiny Child.
These ICE agencies.
What's that?
By the way, that's $1 billion.
That's fine. You would have answered the thing. I would have just answered. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even ask it. I was just talking about this. But good thing, guys. Godfrey, no. You're yucking with my mouth. There was your ass ain't got away with shit. Fuck you. Don't be a good disgrace. That's that. I mean, some of the world's dumbest criminals. What's that? Who? This is not clear. Okay. Oh, so you left me, now she's back on. Don't say shit. Y'all just be quiet and I'm act like he just kicked me out the room and then I'm gonna be back on her lip. So for me, it's chat is disabled for this live stream. No, chat.
As I mentioned, coming up here in just about half an hour or so, we're expecting to see